con, as we say in the Navy.
Thank you very much, Senator Young, and we'll turn it right over to Senator Thune.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for having the hearing today on customs modernization. I want to welcome all of the witnesses. In 2015, I led a trade provision with my colleague, Senator Wyden, which was included in the Trade Facilitation and Trade Enforcement Act, which was the last major customs bill, and that particular provision updated the de minimis threshold for imports from $200 for products to $800. The idea behind the update was to reduce trade barriers and allow more low-value items to be imported into the country duty-free and with fewer unnecessary administrative requirements. Ms. Allen, your written testimony, you state that the current de minimis provision streamlines trade and benefits American consumers, small and large businesses, e-commerce platforms, transportation companies, and many sectors of the economy. And I know you've touched a little bit on some of the issues surrounding that subject, but if you could elaborate on the importance of the de minimis provision, why it's so critical to American customers and businesses, and then there is a concern among businesses, I would say, of all sizes, that that threshold could be reduced or even eliminated, as some have proposed, and maybe talk about that impact. So.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. You know, de minimis is extremely important, I think, when you're talking about trade facilitation. Those small and medium businesses now have opportunities like they've never before. And if you think about what happened during the pandemic, when large-scale shipments had an issue, you know, transiting through our ports, the e-commerce environment of sales was actually exploding and allowing goods to get to consumers who didn't have an ability to go out to the stores and procure those products. So the de minimis provision actually supports the e-commerce space to a great degree. We think that it does facilitate small and medium businesses, and that they're able to transit the trade process, which I explained is very complex, in a much more streamlined manner. I think one of the concerns that I've heard in the industry is also the amount of data and the ability of CBP to target that. CBP, as I mentioned, does have access to ACAS, which is the Advanced Security Screening data. That's filed multiple times by air carriers to make sure that the CBP has the opportunity to target that data, specifically the parties to the transaction when it comes in. And then we file a manifest that has more specific data and tells customs where it's coming, where we're landed, what's going to happen to those goods after the fact. And then we have some commercial data that's filed as well. So CBP does have the authority, the data, and the opportunity to have enforcement actions in the de minimis environment, and specifically in our hubs where they're actually located. We have, you know, a number of seizures that result in that very robust targeting process. So I think it's important from a small to medium business perspective. It's important to continue to that process for opportunities for the American public.
And how about the proposal to change those limits?
The proposal to change the limits, you know, we would be concerned about. We think $800 is a good amount, and I know our company worked with you in that provision in TIFTIA. The average, the data that we see, the average value is much lower than $800. And as we're moving that forward, you know, looking at eliminating that, you know, this allows companies to not pay a tax. You know, tariffs are a tax, and they, you know, the de minimis provision has been around for a long time, basically to avoid an additional tax on goods coming into the United States for small imports. And many of those imports are, you know, legitimate.
Okay, well, let me I want to hit one other subject here quickly, and that has to do with market access, greater market access. A lot of the, you know, better trade facilitation obviously would be welcome development for U.S. producers and manufacturers as well, but I would argue that greater market access is really, it would provide some of the most durable and outsized results for American businesses and workers. So could you just comment quickly on why it's important to expand market access opportunities for American exporters, which according to your written statement, I believe are more than 98% small and medium-sized businesses?
Yeah, the U.S. is a leader. There's no question about that. When you go to the WTO, the WCO, those countries and those bodies look to the U.S. and say, what is the U.S. doing? So the U.S. has always had a leadership role in market expansion and also customs modernization activities. CTPAT was an idea born in the U.S. and then adopted as the AEO around the world. So we have a great opportunity to lead the world in market access. And we took a bold step in TIFTIA in doing that so that we could lead the world in market access and develop small and medium-sized businesses, not just here, but globally. And that could elevate, the economies, not just here, but also globally, which is really important. And that de minimis provision and its equivalents around the world are critical to that.
Thank you. And I would just add, in terms of the trade policy of the current administration, there is really zero that I can tell related to market access. There's a whole bunch of other things that are being contemplated and considered, but that, to me, is the fundamental issue when it comes to certainly the ag exporters that I represent. Thank you.